maybe this is the question of our age. It's certainly a question that is, I've been involved in a little bit. What is a woman? What is a woman is a big question of our age. And the group Speak Up for Women has launched a petition that would actually answer it in an official sense. It says the Human Rights Commission should or needs to say that the definition of a woman is its biological meaning, not, well, whatever other meaning anyone pretends there is, that what it's about question of gender and there are all sorts of genders. Simple petition, Human Rights Commission should acknowledge, if you like, the preeminence of, well, let's ask the people doing the petition. Suzanne Levy from Speak Up for Women joins us now. Suzanne, how are you?
I'm good, Sean. How are you?
Good. It is pretty simple. Explain it to me, what you want to happen with this petition.
Well, it's even more simple. It doesn't even mention the word woman particularly, because our legislation doesn't really. It talks about sex. So the petition just says, it's a simple request, it says that the House of Representatives defines that sex in the Human Rights Act 1993 and any other legislation has the biological meaning. So it's basically just, it's asking them to clarify that sex means what everyone really thinks
genetic
sex means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
X,
yeah.
Y,
so it's,
yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's a follow-up from the Law Commission consultation that was in August this year.
Yeah.
Which was quite it wasn't a particularly accessible consultation for most people. You know, they kind of, it was a several hundred-page consultation, and we're required to answer sort of 80 questions to get through it if you wanted to consult on it or be part of the consultation. And you know, we sort of thought it wasn't really something that most people would pick up and run with, you know. It was kind of like, my goodness, this is, you know, we're a petition, and that's just using the parliamentary website. It's a very simple way. It's a kind of an awareness campaign as much as anything. It's to say, look, just if you look at the advertising and stuff we're doing for it, and people will be thinking, well, what do you mean sex doesn't mean biological sex? Why would it mean anything
it's
else?
almost
Because
as if,
you know,
you're simply asking Parliament to codify and formalise something that common sense would tell us already existed, but there hasn't been a lot of common sense on this issue for a few years.
No, there hasn't been. And the idea that it includes gender or gender identity is, you know, a whole nother aspect, and that, you know, a lot of that stuff will be taken care of through the Law Commission consultation, which will come out, their recommendation will come out sort of middle of next year, and you know, and then it'll be up to Parliament to decide what to do with that recommendation. They may ignore it, you know, they're not under any, you know, but in the meantime, we want to raise public awareness of the fact that we're in a situation where the word sex in the Human Rights Act has been kind of taken over, if you like, and
corrupted. Let's say corrupted.
Yeah, corrupted. Yeah. I mean, I guess from a legal point of view, it actually hasn't, because it can still be interpreted to mean sex. It's so murky, and you know, the Human Rights Commission under Paul Hunt did so much damage by interpreting sex to mean gender, and have, you know, basically taken that and run with it and said, well, you know, gender's covered already, it's under sex, so you know, their kind of idea is that we don't need sex in there at all. We just need gender and gender identity because it trumps it. So it's kind of putting it all out there for the general public, and we would absolutely love everyone to sign it. So you can find the petition either straight on the parliamentary website under petitions, or you can go to our website, which is speakup4women.nz/petition, and it'll tell you a little bit about it and take you to the petition there. And it closes end of February. So we're kind of going to be doing some campaigning over summer to get the signatures up. We've had about 1,200 and something so far in a few days, so that's great.
All right.
Yeah. And so any of your listeners who are interested, please get in touch or have a look for it and sign it. It'd be lovely, and share it with your friends.
Yeah. Suzanne, as I've got you here, and it is towards the end of the year, and we've talked a few times over this year, and the
have.
issues that speak up for women. I don't know. I was going to pass an opinion as to whether or not your causes have had a good year or not, but rather than me prejudging it, how would you define the year for your organisation?
It's been an interesting year. It's been there's some promising actions, and I think probably one of the most promising ones would have been Chris Bishop's announcement of Sport New Zealand to review the guidelines for transgender participation. And
they got there in the end, didn't they?
They got there in the end, and I think that and the reaction to it is interesting. I watched it on social media, and Chris Bishop put it on his personal, or as much as his Facebook page is personal, I guess. And he got a huge amount of support for it, which I think is good for him to see that he does have support for that sort of stuff, because I think, they're told so much that it's an unpopular opinion.
Look, if we're going to look back at the year, Suzanne, let's say I have had the impression from you and people campaigning in the space that you were a little disappointed in the national part of the coalition government's timid approach to these issues.
Well, I mean, I guess we do need to give them a wee bit of a chance, but yes, it's kind of like they were the coalition agreement, or it was New Zealand First that seemed to bring the ideas to the coalition agreement, and National obviously agreed with them, but then were perhaps a bit slow off the mark to actually implement them and go with it. And Chris Bishop did get there in the end. The education one, is hard to see what's going on there, because that's another aspect, and a huge aspect for some of our followers, was the idea of gender identity being removed from the relationship, sexuality education.
Well, I mean, we've still got to address the idea of gender dysphoria recruitment through Inside Out in our school system, and that's all that it is. We know it is. Yeah. No, we do. And just the access that the different groups have got to schools, and that kind of thing. And then, our position on it is that we don't want to see the whole RSE curriculum removed. There is a huge amount of really useful material in there. So, and I think that's probably the National Party approach as well. They're not wanting just to chuck it all away and say, no sex education in schools. Yeah. So I guess it's a matter of working with different groups and figuring out what is a good balance. But I think they have been slow off the mark to look at it or talk about the fact that, gender is not the same as sexuality, and should it be in our sex education? Which is ergo the petition. What about globally? And I guess we could look at the election of Trump. Do you think you are no longer quite so far out in the wilderness? Not that you ever actually were.
Well, yeah, we're led to believe we're out in the wilderness, aren't we? That's part of the kind of plan, is that isolation. But no, I mean, certainly the shift in the US, or the display of the shift, I suppose, it's obviously been shifting for a while, is really interesting. And, I think the biggest mistake the Democrats are making is writing off everybody who voted for Trump as being either stupid or crazy, because clearly they're not all stupid and crazy. And I think they need to be, in the same way that Labour in New Zealand need to be looking at why people voted for other parties. It's a wee bit of self-awareness as to why are people turning away from this sort of ideological kind of politics, and I think in general people have had enough of it, and to recognise that would be the best thing you could do if you're one of the parties that lost. Yeah. Say, well, maybe people are actually over this.
They don't seem to be so into that, though, Suzanne. Yeah.
No, they're not. But I wonder, I wonder how long. We will see. We will see in 2 years' time whether there's any sort of shift. Obviously, the Green Party, they're a little bit further away, but it'll be interesting to see what the Labour Party do coming into the election. Yeah. The next election.
So to recap, this petition basically says that Parliament recognises that sex refers to biological sex,
Correct.
Not
yeah. So at
too
the
sick.
moment, So at the moment in the Human Rights Act, sex is one of the protected characteristics or the unlawful grounds for discrimination. So it's listed and it just says sex, and then next to it says includes pregnancy and childbirth, and that's all it really says about sex. And then
That's
it
a
goes
bit
on to list
exclusionary
other-
for people who are women, isn't it?
Yeah.